All right. So what I want to do in this video is, well, if I can get to it, talk a little bit about. Can you hear me? Sorry, my head was away from the microphone. So what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about how we calculate CPI, and how it differs from. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about how it differs from GDP, but. What CPI is really just a consumer price index. It's similar to GDP. They're apples and oranges. There's just two different ways to measure different factors about a country, like standard of living and other things. CPI is just, it's like I always compare it. One's like the metric system, the other one's a standard system. Each one tells you different things. They're both important, but they're typically getting around, or they're just two different tools. It's like using a hammer versus like a wrench, like a screw. Wow, what am I saying? I would say it's more like using like a flathead screwdriver versus a Phillips. Very similar, maybe just a little bit different on what you want to get at. But what matters is that you're just consistent. Okay, so when we're calculating CPI, the way we approach this is, first thing you want to do is you want to get your basket, okay? Your basket is simply, it's just price times quantity, okay? And so when we're finding CPI, it is the basket of goods of whatever year that you're finding. So CPI of X is equal to the basket of goods of X divided by the basket of goods of the base year, okay? And this is important to note. It's kind of built in this problem that we're looking at. But quantity, it's like flipped for CPI. Quantity is fixed for CPI because we're looking at price index. It's all about the prices, the increase and decrease in prices. And so in this case, you're just multiplying 5. So let's say we wanted the basket of goods. Well, let's answer the question first. This is going to take us a long time. But we can do this. For sake of time, I don't think I will solve this whole question because this might take a while. But basically, maybe I will. We'll see. So the way we find a basket is, so like for example, the basket in 2015 will be, if my pen will work, 20 times 5, because that's the quantity, plus 6 times 10. So the price, so that would be 100, 160. Basket in 2016 is 24 times 5 plus 8 times 10. Don't know what that is off the top of my head. This is 200. Okay, then we do 30 times 12 plus 12. Whoops. Slow down, Adam. So 30 times 5, that's 150 plus 120 is 270. And finally, we have 32 times 5 plus 15 times 10. So that's 150, and then 32 times 5 is equal to 160. So that would be 310. Okay, so now we found the baskets for each one, and then we just use this equation to find the CPI for each one. So, for example, the CPI So for this one, it doesn't tell us a base year per se. But you can, in this case, I always just set the lowest as the base year. It doesn't necessarily, if it doesn't tell you, just default And so we'll just use 20. So the CPI in 2015 is always 100. The CPI of the base year is always 100. So CPI of 2015 is equal to 100. Because you just, sorry, this is also times 100. Okay. And then for sake of time, I'm just going to do CPI of 2016. Okay. And so CPI of 2016 is equal to, so we do the basket of 2016 is 200 divided by 160 times 100. So that would be 200 divided by 160 times 100. So that is 125. Okay. So now we have CPI 2015, 2016. So using the CPIs, we can then find the inflation rate. The way we find the inflation rate is, so I'm just going to put IR for inflation rate. It's just rate of change formula, basically. So it's CPI, the new CPI minus the old CPI divided by the old CPI times 100. So in this case, it would be 125 minus 100 divided by 100 times 100. And since the hundreds will cancel, this you can see is 25%. Okay? And you would just do that for each question. So that gives us, this is already tells us the inflation rate here is 25%. And then we would just do that for each one. So we do the CPI 2016, 2017, plug that in here to this, and then 2017, 2018, etc. Okay, hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm not going to give you the answer. I know, bummer, but I think you guys can figure it out. Adam out.